Hey there. Welcome to the Backlog Backyard podcast, a show in which I, Phantom, aim to help you work through your backlog and to help you understand that a backlog is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And along the way, I hope that I remind you why you fell in love with gaming, because it's something that I'm continuing to remind myself of every single day. So if you're a gamer and you've heard the term backlog, but you don't necessarily know what it is, it's essentially a list of games that you haven't played. For example, you could have as little as 2 games on your backlog, or you could have a backlog over 100 games. In fact, my backlog, which I clocked out today, is around 107 games, and that's not including games like Destiny or World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV, which are multiplayer live service games that continue to persist even after I step away from them. Now, we live in a time where games are coming out at an exponential rate, and sometimes it's actually fairly cheap for us to get games. So, this can lead to backlogs piling up. It's one of the reasons why mine is as large as it is because of things like PlayStation Plus. There was a point in my life where I was just downloading PlayStation Plus games because they were there. I don't even know if I'm going to like them. But that's where the beauty of the backlog truly is. Because a backlog is a list of games that you need to play. Notice how I didn't say complete or finish. And that's because you have the freedom to finish a game. You have the freedom to choose to complete a game. You have the freedom. Notice how I didn't say finish or complete. I said played. There's a reason for that. Because you have the freedom to choose whether or not you see a game through to its credits. If you're playing a game and you don't like it, you can put it down. You can step away from it. If you're playing a game and about an hour in, you realize it's not something that you love or like, you don't ever have to play it again. That's the great thing about a backlog is it's not a list of things to do and it's not a chore. It's a collection of things that you want to try. I'll give a perfect example. A couple years ago, one of the Hitman games was out on PlayStation Plus. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I remembered my friend telling me how much he loved the franchise. So I picked it up, and within about 30-40 minutes, I realized that I didn't actually like Hitman. I'm not the biggest fan of stealth games in general, and this was just something that didn't gel with me. So I uninstalled it. In fact, I've never even replayed it, and I don't plan to. So, how do you let a backlog grow? You buy games faster than you can finish them. It's as simple as that. And getting through a backlog isn't that hard. It can be challenging, but it's not necessarily that hard. You just need to plan and categorize. And I know what you're saying to yourself. That sounds like work. That sounds like a chore. I don't want to do that. But hear me out. The reason why you do that is to make things more comprehensible. I'll give you an example. I want you to picture yourself in your childhood bedroom and picture all the games you have on your list. Let's hypothetically say you have 50 games on your backlog. I want you to picture them as physical copies. Just like this. Picture 50 copies of a game. There's no digital, none of that exists. It's all hard copies. Picture them strewn across the bedroom floor. And someone's in that room, your console's plugged in, and they say, play a game. But just as you go to pick a game up, they go, wait, why are you going to play that game? Why not this game? This game just came out. All your friends are playing it. So you go to grab that, and then they turn around and say, well, wait, what about that one in the corner? That came out 10 years ago. That's a cult classic. And every time you go to pick up a game, they chirp in your ear, chiding you to play something different. Until eventually you get stuck and you haven't played anything and the whole day's gone. The problem with the backlog is that you get stuck with analysis by paralysis. Just like when you go to a restaurant and you open the menu and there's too many good choices. So that's why we categorize things. That's why we plan. because it makes everything go from this big, incomprehensible list of jarbled stuff into this smaller, controlled area in which we can make a better choice. Now, I will preface this. If you don't like lists, if you don't like writing anything down, if you want to fly by the seat of your pants, by all means, go ahead. But these are things that I've done that are helping me. And in turn, I think they could help people like you. So let's start off with the first thing, and that's categorizing your backlog. Now, this can be done one of two ways: physically or digitally. Physically, it's the easiest thing. You just take a notebook, you take a pen, you write out your games. In fact, I have mine here. This is my old backlog from September. You just write them out. It's as simple as that. That's all you got to do. Just write them out, list everything, and then bam, you're done. Now, that's the simplest way to do it. Obviously, you can be more complex with it. You can highlight, color code things. You can even group things by console. I mainly play on PlayStation, so a lot of my backlog right now is PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 games. If you wanted to, you could categorize them that way. You could do it by rating, years released. The choice is really up to you. Just get it written down. Now, if you don't want to do things old school like I do, it's just something that helps me. I know a lot of people prefer to do things in an analog manner rather than a digital manner. But if you want something done digitally, you actually have a couple options. You have two options. If I can find my phone, you have two options that you can do on your phone, and you have a couple options you can do on a desktop or a laptop. If you want something that's portable and in the palm of your hand, there's a couple apps you could download. You can download, let me pull up the app because I just downloaded it today. I actually haven't had a chance to look through it all too much, but you can download the app Stash, which lets you make lists, write down what you're playing, what you've beaten, write little reviews, see what other people are playing. And then IGN has a similar app called, I believe it's called IGN Playlists, where it's essentially the same thing. You can put games you've beaten, you can put what you're playing, what you've taken a break from, what you quit, and you can see what other people say about these games. I was using IGN Playlists for a little while, but I realized that eventually I just stopped using it because the way I handle my backlog is I don't really touch it until I beat a game, or I have to add one. And that's because I tend to play one game through to whatever I find is its completion and then move on to the next, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But those are two things you could do on your phone. You could also just open up your Notes app and make a list. It's as easy or as complex as you want to make it. Now, for desktop, you have two options. One, I've seen people do recently on TikTok. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but it does seem functional, and that's making an Excel sheet. And I can hear you now. Oh, I'm not going to make an Excel sheet. That's work. That's too business formal. This is supposed to be a fun thing, you said. Yes, some people find fun making an Excel sheet. It can be, again, as easy as you want. You just put one column of all the games. The next column, you put what console they're on. And then the third column, you put beat. That's it. Or some people go further than that. They put the game, they put the console, the year it came out, if they beat it, what they rated it, did they complete it, did they get the platinum? It's all up to you. And that's the theme of this first episode, is choice and freedom. Even though we're categorizing, we still have the choice and freedom to do it as we see fit, to do what works for us. Now, the second thing you can do on desktop or laptop is something that I recently did. In fact, I did it today before this episode because I heard about it, but I never actually tried it, and that's using a website called Backlogged. I'll leave it linked in the podcast description, but essentially, consider the two apps that I mentioned before, IGN Playlist and Stash, and put it on a website. It's essentially a community hub where you can make a list. In fact, I'll link my backlog down in the description so you can see what I'm currently playing, and you can see as I progress through the backlog itself. And you can also follow people, you can see reviews on games, what people thought. And what's really cool about Backlogged is when you make a list of games that say you want to play. So, for instance, my backlogged list, when you make that list, it has a progress bar of how far you've gotten through that list. And I find that great and interesting because the other apps don't do that. Sure, you can have a good grasp of how you're progressing if you physically write things down or if you use a spreadsheet, but these digital platforms don't do that. So to have a metric in which you can gauge progress can be very beneficial to some people because they need that. They need to see that they're making progress. And I understand when you write everything down, I mean, look at the first list I just showed you. It was 3-4 pages long. That can be overwhelming. But if you have it in front of you on a screen, sometimes it's easier if you have a little meter that fills up. I mean, that's what we do when we play these games. We try to get the meter to go and fill up. We want the big number. We want the bing, bing, wahoo dopamine hit that we get from number get big. So it's really nice that that's something that's included in this website. And those are, from what I've seen right now, the main ways to categorize your backlog. I don't know if this is on every platform, but on PlayStation specifically, you can go into your library and create a folder of all the games at least you have digitally in your library. And I find that really good for things like PlayStation Plus because you can categorize them into folders of these are games I want to try, these are all my games, these are games that I really want to play. And if you hear a meowing, my cat's out the window hunting birds right now. She's just looking out there and clicking away. So I apologize for that. I don't know if Steam has something like this or Epic or Xbox. So if you do know, please let me know in the comments because I'd be very interested to see if other consoles and other game library platforms have something like this. Okay, so we have categorized our list. We have our backlog, however long, however short, and now we have to plan. And this is something that I never thought of doing until a few years ago. I was playing Destiny with one of my artist friends. In fact, she made the logo for my other podcast, Live from the Tower, which is basically just about Destiny. And she said to me that when she makes her schedule for the day to help her keep her on track because of her ADHD, which I can relate to because I have ADHD, she makes sure to put in time to play games. And that's something I never thought of because we don't think of it when we're kids or when we're teenagers or in high school. We just come home and turn the game on. But for someone with a busy schedule who claims that I don't have time to play games, and yes, you could have little to no time to play games. It's a very real thing. People have multiple jobs, kids. I work 3 jobs and I am trying to do all of this with podcasts and YouTube videos. So I get it. That's where this comes in. Get yourself a day planner, a whiteboard, calendar, something, or even another notebook. It doesn't really matter. Something where you can keep track of your day to day. And it doesn't have to be dated. You could if that helps. But something that just has Monday through Sunday. And write your major things that you have to do. For instance, over there in that corner, you can't see it because it's behind the bookshelf, but I have a whiteboard that has Monday through Sunday. And on it, I put all of my major things I have to do for that day. Lift, hit 10,000 steps, go to work, and then after all of the big things, all of the responsibilities, if you will, I put what game I'm going to play. So for instance, on Tuesday, Destiny 2 resets. That's its weekly reset. And usually there's new content to play on that day. So I make sure that Tuesday is my Destiny day. Thursdays, I used to stream here on YouTube. So I would put that in and write what game I was playing at the time. And what this does is this makes sure that we have allocated time. Excuse me. I got a little Slurpee over here and it's giving me the burps. What this does is it makes sure that we have time to play the games. Because categorizing and writing all these lists and notes is great, but if you don't do anything with it, then what's the point? So making sure we allocate the time to play these games is what really matters. So get a calendar, get a planner, write all your important stuff, and then put game. Because when we were kids, and I don't think people make this correlation a lot, because you always hear people say, I have so much responsibilities as an adult. You did too as a kid. It just didn't seem that way. You had to go to school for about the same hours you go to work. You came home. If you played a sport, you had sports, theater, choir, extracurricular activities, and then you came home and had homework. And then it was dinner with the family, and then whatever time you had left, you used to play the game until you went to bed. Don't you do the same thing now as an adult? You get up, go to work, you exercise, go to Pilates, go to boxing, whatever your extracurricular activity is. You come home, you eat dinner with your family. Yeah, you could have kids to take care of. That could take up more of your time, absolutely. But then at the end of the day, you have 1 or 2 hours to play the game. And what happens is when you don't have this list set up, when you don't have things planned out roughly, because it's not concrete, you have the option to change your mind. You have the option to say, you know what? I was going to play Astrobot today, but I'm just too tired. I just want to watch Bob's Burgers instead and just veg out on the couch before bed. You have that choice. You have that freedom. You can do that. Nobody's threatening you to play your backlog. So you sit down, you take your time, you play your game, and there you go. It's not about how fast you get through it, and it's not about how you start. It's just about starting. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. A lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too, feel like there's pressure to play games on their backlog. For instance, I always felt there was pressure to finish a game before playing something else. And I'll give you my most recent example. I bought Monster Hunter Wilds at launch because all my friends were playing it, and all of them talked about how this game is the greatest thing. And I tried it, and I'm still in low rank hunts, I will admit, but it just didn't blow me away. It's a very good game. It's finished, it's polished. It just didn't blow the socks off of me. And I was feeling a little bored. So what did I do? I played Baldur's Gate 3 because my best friend was like, when are you going to play Baldur's Gate? I said, you know what? I'll play it. And now I'm 48, 50 hours into it, and I can't put the game down. So it's not about how it happens. In the past, I would have felt guilty for putting Monster Hunter down. Hell, I put Metaphor down to play Monster Hunter. If this was me a year and a half ago, I would have felt bad for doing that. This actually happened a couple years back. I was streaming a game and it just wasn't fun anymore. Just the streams weren't fun. I wasn't having fun, and you could see it and you could feel it in just the energy of the stream. And I said, you know what? I don't think I want to play this right now. And I got backlash because I wanted to step away from a game. So I can understand when people feel this inherent guilt that they have to play what they have first. It's almost similar to you have to eat your meat or you get no dessert. It's kind of the same thing. People with backlogs feel like they have to play what's on their backlog first, and they can't play what they want to play. Say it's a new game. Say it's Oblivion the remake. Now, I've never played Oblivion, and I would have loved to try it out, and I will. But some people who want to play it because, say Oblivion's their favorite game, they see the remake, they hear the news, they get all excited, they feel like a little kid again, they feel like a teenager again. But say they feel this little voice in the back of their head going, cheep, 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 saying, you can't play Oblivion because you have 50 games on your backlog. You're just going to keep procrastinating your backlog. It'll never get done. It'll just... Sorry about that. But that's what happens. And then it becomes this vicious cycle of gaming becomes a chore. I think it's why people feel like gaming has changed. Granted, there are some things that have. The way games are produced, the way they're released, the cost of them, all of these things have changed. The competitiveness of games. You'll get a single player game that comes out within 5 hours or 10 hours or 24 hours. You'll have people putting videos, the 10 best ways to start Expedition 33. Do this in the Oblivion remake now. And it gives it this artificial competitiveness when they're single player games. Just relax. Not everything's an esport. And listen, I'll be the first to admit, I've watched plenty of those videos, especially when I played through Days Gone, during COVID. But do you see it? Do you see how someone who feels that way won't enjoy the hobby as much as they could because of something that inherently someone else put in there or social media put in there? This fear of missing out, of not being caught up on the latest games. That's why it doesn't matter. That's why we do things like catalog our backlog. We plan what we're going to play. We just start. The easiest thing for you to do, say you cataloged everything. The easiest thing you can do right now, you're looking at your list of games and you say, geez, I don't know what to start. Start at the top. Take Astrobot. Say Astrobot's the first game on your backlog. Install it. Play Astrobot. Well, when do I stop? When do I play the other games? Whenever you want. If you want to juggle multiple games at one time because that's keeps everything fresh, that's how it's enjoyable for you, go and do it. If you want to beat Astrobot and then move on to the next game, go and do it. If you're having so much fun with this platformer that you want to 100% it right out of the box and then go and play something else, go and do it. That's the great thing. And I've said it numerous times in this episode alone. That's the great thing about gaming. And that's the great thing about backlogs in general, is that you have the freedom to do these things. If you don't like a game, you have the freedom to not play it. No one's threatening you. No one's sitting behind you in the chair going, you got to finish this game even though you hate it because it's on your backlog. And if you don't. That's why things like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass and Steam sales and getting games as gifts like I do, a lot of my games are Christmas and birthday gifts. And that's why things like this are such a great thing, because people sometimes look at games as a sunk cost fallacy. And what that is they feel as if because they spent so much time or X amount of money on this, that they have to see it through even if they hate it. That's not the case. You bought a game, you hated it, don't play it. Now you know for next time when the sequel comes out and everybody's soy jacking it, you don't have to play it. You don't have to buy it. You'll sit there and say to yourself, oh, you know what? I didn't like that game. And I actually felt bad that I bought it and didn't like it. So, you know what? I'm just not going to buy it now. And I'm okay with that. That's the beauty of this all, is it's all about freedom and choice. When we were kids, we didn't care what anybody else thought. Hell, I played Kingdom Hearts 2 about 6-7 times as a kid. You want to know why? One, I didn't have as many games as I had now. We couldn't afford it. And two, I really, really liked it. And I'll probably play it 5 or 6 more times in the next couple years alone. And no one can tell me not to. What's going to happen? Someone's going to come into my comments. Someone's going to come into my Discord. One of my friends is going to go, you know, you shouldn't play Kingdom Hearts again. I've had people say to me, when I get the itch to play my comfort game or a game that's very nostalgic to me, I've had people say to me, you're really going to play that game again? You've already played it. I'll give you an example. My backlog has a bunch of collections on it. Spyro Reignited, Crash Insane Trilogy, the Ezio Trilogy, but technically it's called the Ezio Collection, the BioShock Collection, Saints Row the Third Remastered, Ghostbusters the Game Remastered, all games that I like. Minus Crash and Spyro, those are going to be my first outings in those games. But the rest are all games I've played and I loved and I liked. And I've had people say to me, why are you going to play that again? You've already played it. What do you just watch a movie once and never watch it again? You watch a TV episode once and you never watch a rerun? No. That's the whole point of media, is I can consume it as much or as little as I want. And I don't have to give a rat's ass what you think about it. So yeah, I have 107 games on my backlog. Am I going to play them all? For some amount of time, yes. Am I going to finish them all? Probably not. Am I going to complete them all? Not even close. And do I care what anybody thinks about it? No. So, with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Backlog Backyard Podcast. Let me know down below, how big is your backlog? And until next time, remember, it's all about having fun.